to another QB Power Hour. Today's topic is automating invoices and payments with QuickBooks Online and Invoice Sherpa. I'm very glad to have you joining me today. A little bit about the QB Power Hour. Our agenda is we're going to go over a little bit about the QB Power Hour and introduce myself and your host today. We'll talk about the CPE process and ACE, and then our topics and learning objectives for today. We're going to help you learn how to target clients for accounts receivable management services, discover how value pricing is going to help you improve your profitability, just brief discussion on that. And then mainly, we're going to help you understand how Invoice Sherpa automates the workflow of accounts receivable management and collections. So my name is Michelle Long. I am a CPA, the owner of Long for Success, and thrilled to say that I'm an international trainer for Intuit. And, you know, I just realized this, but this fall will be 10 years that I've been training for Intuit. So I think that's kind of cool. I really enjoy it, and looking forward to getting on the road again this fall. That's a little bit about me. Hector, you want to introduce yourself? You're muted, Hector.
Yep. Hi,
There
Michelle.
you go.
Do you mind unsharing your screen and sharing it again? Because I don't see the screen for some reason. So can you unshare and reshare? Maybe it'll pop up. Okay, there it is. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Hector Garcia. I work and live in the Miami area. Teach QuickBooks in my own classroom. Member of the Intuit Trainer Writer Network, and I call myself an expert in all things QuickBooks and importing data into Excel-related topics. My email is hector@garciacpa.com. I'm pretty open to answering emails, and there's my Twitter handle. Michelle?
Very good. Sean, how about you? You want to introduce yourself, our special guest today?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. Yep, I'm Sean, and I'm actually the founder of Invoice Sherpa and chief software developer here. So I'm just excited to have an opportunity to share what we've been working on with you.
Great. Thank you, Sean. We're glad to have you with us, too. Hector, do you want to go ahead?
Sure. QB Power Hour webinar series, usually every other Thursday. From time to time, we change the schedule a little bit based on tax season and stuff like that. The upcoming episodes, we have today's episode about automating invoices and payments with QuickBooks Online, and Sean will talk about an app called Invoice Sherpa. On September 7th, which is 2 weeks from now, we will do, very excited, we will do what's new in QuickBooks 2018. It is a QuickBooks desktop topic. And then we're gonna skip 1 week, so it's gonna be 3 weeks afterwards, just because we know that the September 15th deadline is very important to some accounting professionals. We're gonna do what's new in QuickBooks Enterprise 2018, but we're gonna focus specifically on advanced inventory features without giving up the store, without giving out any information. There's one major huge feature being added to QuickBooks Enterprise on advanced inventory this year, and we'll do a deep dive on September 21st. Then we will do 2 back-to-back ACE Advanced Certified Continuing Education Credit for Advanced Pro Advisors in October. We will likely do a QBO related ACE course October 5th and a QuickBooks Desktop ACE course September 19th. Michelle and I may flip those, but there will be 2 back-to-back advanced education credit courses for that. Now, we usually cover about 50% QuickBooks Desktop, 50% QuickBooks Online, and from time to time, we'll have a special guest, third-party app, or practice management, accounting, and industry-related topics. We'd like to thank our sponsors. We have T-Sheets, our platinum sponsors, #1 rated app in the App Store for timesheet management, www.tsheets.com. And our next platinum sponsor, Aero Workflow. It's the only workflow app designed for QuickBooks Pro Advisors by QuickBooks Pro Advisors. Most accounting professionals that need to manage their internal workflow, they need a very strong tool. Check them out, aeroworkflow.com. And finally, we have our silver sponsor, HopDoc, which provides a free account for all accounting professionals. If you go to hopdoc.com/QBPowerHour.com, you'll be able to create your own account, and it's the best way to gather documents from your clients, especially bank statements, check images, things like that clients can also upload manually outside from their automated document management retrieval system.
Thank you, Hector. Go ahead.
Okay, and then the ACE and CPE process, really, really important, especially for our loyal QB Power Hour listeners, viewers. We have our CPE credits have been sent up to July 13th. So we're missing 2 credits that will email them this weekend. So July 27th and August 10th will be sent this weekend. Now, what is our CPE system? You must attend the webinar for at least 50 minutes. It needs to be attended live. So for the people that watch the recording, they can get their CPE or ACE certificates. We'll be doing a total of 4 polling questions in which you must answer at least 3 in order to get your credit. And the CPE certificates are emailed in about 3 weeks. Right now we're behind. We're at the 4th week. I realize that. I apologize, but normally it's 3 to 4 weeks. Today's episode in particular is not an ACE course, and the next 2 will not be ACE, but the October ones will be ACE. So you go to quickbookstrainingevents.com/ACE to report your own advanced credits for advanced pro advisors.
Thank you, Hector, and we really appreciate all you do. I know the CPE certificates is a major job to do, so thank you for doing all that. We appreciate that. Some of our upcoming webinars and events, we've got Accountants University, and that's where you can go to qbtrainingevents.com. We are hitting the road again this fall, starting I think in September, but we're going to be going to various cities all across the U.S. For QBO certification training and some other stuff. So check that out at qbtrainingevents.com. They also have webinars every single month that are free, as well as the Intuit virtual conference. I'd also like to invite you to join me and Sandy Smith-Leva at the Ultimate Accounting VCon. That is a virtual conference that she and I have done, gosh, I don't know if this is the 5th or the 6th year, but it's a really great conference that you can attend from your own home. So you can sit there in your jammies and have 2 days of great content. Check that out at accountingvcon.com. And then the best conference of all is QuickBooks Connect in San Jose, California in November. We'd love to have you join us for that. If you can at all attend it, I highly recommend it. Hector and I both will be there, and we'd love to see you there as well. And then, of course, next June, I believe it is, we've got Scaling New Heights again, and it's in Atlanta this year, isn't it, or next year? Isn't it, Hector?
That's right. It will be in Atlanta, and the theme is Tame the Machines, whatever that means.
Oh, that's right. That's going to be a good one, too. All right, so we hope to see you at some of those upcoming events. So let's get down into our business today. We're going to be talking about accounts receivable management, and I wanted to start by giving you some ideas about adding AR management to your services. You know, we hear a lot of people talking about, you know, managing accounts payable and using things like that, but there's an awful lot of these small businesses that really could use some help with accounts receivable management as well. So, of course, any of your clients that have invoices, so it's not going to be your cash-based clients, not, you know, retailers or people that are getting paid cash, but any clients that are sending out invoices, especially if they've got quite a few invoices, it really gets time-consuming and tedious, you know, following up with the invoices, sending out reminders, trying to make sure they're getting paid on time. And this is where we can help these clients improve their cash flow by helping them get paid faster and getting paid quicker and managing accounts receivable. It can really help them with cash flow. And a lot of our clients can use some help from this aspect. So we're talking today about how you can kind of incorporate this into your practice with your existing clients, but then also you might want to target some new clients that have lots of accounts receivable. So I wanted to give you some ideas of new clients with a lot of AR that you could perhaps target, such as like professional service firms, lawyers, architects, engineers, IT, design agencies, and many others. Any B2B services. Think about this, like a janitorial service where they're working with a lot of different businesses, or specialty cleaning services. One of the clients I had one time was working with restaurants, and they would clean the hoods, you know, over the stove and stuff. And so they had a lot of different franchises, a lot of invoices, and it was, you know, management nightmare for them because the volume of activity. Then also, you know, you might do B2B is business to business, you know, contractors, homeowners associations, daycares and schools, fitness centers. There's a whole lot of small businesses that have a lot of accounts receivable, and a lot of times they don't have the time nor the desire to manage their accounts receivable. And this is where we as accounting professionals can help them with this. So one of the things I wanted to share with you is how can you target some of these clients and get new clients in this area? use something called Reference USA. I don't know if you've heard about something like Sales Genie or some of those things where they'll sell you leads and give you a list of leads. You can create your own targeted list for free. You could then call these businesses or send them a direct mail. Unfortunately, it doesn't usually include their email addresses, but it allows you to go in and search by either a geographic area and a type of business. Let's say you wanted to look for, architects or lawyers in your area. You can go in and search and get this list for free from the public library. So this is a way you can target new businesses. And so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this today, but there's the link to a YouTube video. It's 10 to 15 minute video where I show you how to go in and how to access this and how to get your own list, because this is a great area where you can grow your practice and provide this valuable service to your existing clients as well as new. So check out that Reference USA. Then another thing you want to make sure is that you're using something to automate the process, like apps like Invoice Sherpa. Because when you're automating the process with the tools and technology that we have today, we don't spend that much time doing our services anymore, doing this work. These apps like Invoice Sherpa will save you a significant amount of time, but yet we're providing this very valuable service to our clients. So, in this case, with AR management, helping them improve their cash flow, that's really valuable to them, letting them get paid faster and on time. So we want to make sure we are not billing hourly for these things. And one of the things that I hear from a lot of accountants and bookkeepers, when I'm out presenting on the road and we start talking about apps and stuff, a lot of accountants will say, I don't want to pay how much for that app? I don't want to pay $20 for that app or $50 for that app. For every client, that's ridiculous. But I want you to realize that the cost of these apps is our tool to allow us to be more profitable. And the example I use a lot of times is I'll ask people, Hector just talked about taxes and filing extensions and everything, and I'll ask people that do taxes, how many of you use a tax prep software? And, they all, if they're doing taxes, everyone uses a tax prep software. And I'll ask why. Why do you spend thousands of dollars on Lacert or ProConnect Tax Online or whatever software program you're using? You spend thousands of dollars on that to do the taxes. Theoretically, you could go to irs.gov, download those PDF forms and fill them out manually, and that's free, right? Why pay for tax prep software? You can do it free. People will laugh at me because that's absurd. They would never do it manually. They pay for the tax prep software because it allows them to do things a lot more efficiently, get a lot more tax returns done, and ultimately be a lot more profitable. And that's the way it is with these third-party apps. Like Invoice Sherpa is allowing you to automate that process. And that's where if you're billing based on the value you're providing your clients, you're going to ultimately be a lot more profitable. Now, we don't have time, again, to go into depth on value pricing. But again, there's the link to a webinar I did earlier this year on value pricing and giving you ideas and more details on that. So check that one out as well, because these things are the key. It's key to providing these services, and a key like the app like Invoice Sherpa to automating the process, so we're spending less time doing these things. So now let's specifically talk about accounts receivable and what we've got in QuickBooks Online, and then we'll get into the details of how Invoice Sherpa is going to take it to the next step for us. So as you know, in QuickBooks Online, as well as QuickBooks Desktop. Now, I'm going to be talking specifically about QuickBooks Online, but Invoice Sherpa will work in QuickBooks Desktop in a couple of weeks. Sean's told us September, so it is in the very short term, but it's not there quite yet. But in QuickBooks Online specifically, of course, you can do your basic invoices, you can set up QuickBooks payments, you can run reports. We can set up automated or recurring invoices and sales receipts in QuickBooks Online, and those are more powerful than the memorized invoices that you have in Desktop, and you can automatically get paid with a sales receipt if you're using QuickBooks Payments. We can send bulk email reminders. I'm going to show you this in just a second. The bulk email reminders, and we can make some notes for our customers. So let me just pop in there and show you a couple of those things real quickly. So I am in QuickBooks Online. I'm in a sample company that we use called Larry's Landscaping. So out here, I've done all my invoices and things like that. I can quickly see my overdue invoices by clicking on this money bar. And then I could select all of them and do a batch email or create a statement. So I can batch email reminders to my customers, but I have to manually do that. And there's no way to have a different email if they're, 30 days past due, or if they're 60 days past due. It's all just one overdue email, and it's a manual process. You have to go in there and do that for those overdue invoices. Now, the other thing is, let's say you've got a customer that says, they want to make payments, or they're going to pay you part now. As part of accounts receivable management, we need to document our collection procedures. So for example, I think I've got one down here. Here we go. So I created an invoice for myself. We want to document things. So on an invoice, all right, let's see. Oh, I changed it, so it's not today. So we've got an overdue invoice here. We can put some notes on an invoice. So here's an invoice that I have, and down at the bottom, you'll see some history on this invoice. You can keep track of the messaging between you and the customer or the client, and the invoice will have that messaging right there on it. So like, let's say on this top one here, if you're documenting your collection procedures, the customer said they'd make payments, you can put some of that in there, but there's no real easy way to see the notes or monitor this or anything. You have to go on that invoice, scroll down to the bottom, and then you can see this messaging. So right here is where, you could type in a message to go on that invoice. And then the customers could also reply, and you would have all that information out here as well. So this is one thing, you can have some notes on there, but it's kind of limited. The other notes that you can have on your customers will show up on your accountant dashboard. So it's not really helpful for AR management, if you will. So when you're in your QBOA dashboard, out here, you'll see some notes. Like this client, it says, don't call before noon. So you can have some notes out here on these clients, but again, and of course now the notes is not working on this one. Isn't that great? Let's go under edit the client and we'll see the notes in there. Intuit is working on making the notes a little better. But you could go out here. No, it is not working right now. But anyway, the notes aren't in one dashboard type of place for you to monitor your collections efforts, which is what we kind of want to do. So although you do have, the basic accounts receivable in QuickBooks Online, it is limited. We can't set up those automatic emails, like I mentioned, to automatically send the reminder emails and have it be different for different email periods. We can't set up a payment plan. If they say, let's say Hector says, I'm going to pay you $100 a month and then I'll pay it in full by XYZ date. You can't set that stuff up. You don't have, like I mentioned, the robust notes and documentation that you need to document any collection efforts. You cannot set up recurring payments of different amounts. Let's say Hector's a bookkeeping client of mine and I'm charging him $1,000 every month. I can set that up as a recurring sales receipts in QuickBooks Online if I'm using QuickBooks Payments. But let's say I'm doing some special work and, in addition to the monthly bookkeeping for Hector, I helped him prepare financials for a bank or something. I did some additional work, so this month I need to invoice him an extra $250. Then it wouldn't be set up on that recurring sales receipt where I automatically get paid. But that's something Invoice Sherpa can do. They can set up recurring payments of different amounts. So if you're going to be doing accounts receivable management, QuickBooks Online will allow you to do some things, but it's really kind of limited. So if you've got clients with lots of accounts receivable and lots of invoices and they need that help improving their cash flow, this is where you really want to look at a third-party app like Invoice Sherpa, because it's going to automate a lot of this process for you. And that's why Sean is online here. He's going to give us a walkthrough and a demo and show us some of the really cool things that we can do. So Sean, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to you and make you the presenter if you're ready to go.
I'm ready to go.
And Sean, did you want to add any comments about the value pricing or anything that I just talked about?
Yeah, absolutely. So before we talk about, and can you see my screen okay?
Oh, yeah. Hold on, Sean, one second. While Well, actually, no, I don't see your screen yet. Hold on, it might just be me though.
No, we can see the screen. We have to do a polling question.
Yeah, so
Thank you. I have to launch a
sorry.
polling question while you're talking. So go ahead and talk, and I've launched a polling question.
Yeah, absolutely. So, before I talk about how this is important for your clients, let's talk about how this is important for you and for your practice. So, you as a bookkeeper or accounting professional, you're continuously looking for ways to provide more value to your clients and also expand with some revenue opportunities. And so adding in accounts receivable management is a great way to do that. So a couple of ways we help you with that. Obviously, we have a Pro Advisor program where you get a free account for your own practice at Invoice Sherpa, so that you can use it, understand the product, and then also within Invoice Sherpa, you can actually add all of your customers just like you do for your clients, just like you do for QBOA. So you can actually move in between client accounts seamlessly. We also give you a discount on any of the clients that you sign up. So for your first 10 clients, we give you a 10% discount. After that, we give you a 20% discount. You can either bill your clients directly and we bill you, or you can actually have the clients be billed by us, so you sort of get that choice. But what we really see as being a really successful strategy for folks is they go out, they put this as part of their value pricing model, they add in some of their own expertise and their own time. So at the end of the day, they're selling it as a sort of an additional module each month. And because cash flow is such an important part of every business, it becomes a really great seller and a good way to continue to grow your base.
Totally agree with you. Thank you. All right, let me go ahead and close this polling question here. And a lot of people were saying I couldn't choose more than one, and I apologize. with the polling questions, you can only choose one. But we had 43% desktop, 54% QuickBooks Online, and then we had some others in there as well. So very good. So Sean, I'm going to let you go ahead, but I'm going to have to interrupt you like in a few more minutes to do another poll question, because I should have done some earlier and I didn't.
No worries at all. So if you can see my screen, what you're seeing right now is the dashboard of Invoice Sherpa. So I'll run through this kind of at a high level. So the whole point of the application is simple. Small businesses fail because of cash flow management issues. Medium and large businesses don't grow because of cash flow issues. And our goal is simply to, in any way possible, automate the cash flow cycle from end to end. So the first thing you need, of course, when you're doing that is you need information. And so when you first log in, we give you a great high-level overview of where you stand in terms of your collections, how much is outstanding in each area. We give you totals, we give you averages. We show you all the nitty-gritty details down to the invoice level, so you can see every invoice that's past due. So we just try to give you as much information as possible to really focus in and manage your AR. Now, you can get a lot of this information or all of this information in QuickBooks Online, but we've tried to bring it together in a really seamless way. But knowing stuff is great, but what we really want to do now is we want to automate stuff. And so there are really two types of invoices and situations we help with. So one is the traditional, I've sent an invoice out and now people are paying me on time. And the way we handle that is we have an entire reminder schedule where you basically come in and you set up a list of actions that you want to take place. And it's pretty simple. Stuff in the green is actions I want to have happen before an invoice goes past due. Actions in the red, stuff I want to have happen after the invoice goes past due. We offer a range of different actions. You can send emails, you can send SMS text reminders, you can send live phone calls, statements, you can even send internal staff reminders. So lots of different ways to do this. But the classic method is at a certain point, let's say 7 days, we would send a past due invoice reminder to a client. And that would look something like this. So it says, hey, it's invoice 1234 is now past due. Here's the amount that's past due. This is when it was due. And here are some really handy links. One is to click and pay the invoice right here, and the other is to actually download a copy of the PDF. And this PDF comes right out of QuickBooks. You can see exactly what was all the invoice detail was. But in essence, the power of this is we do it at 7 days, we do it again at 14, we do it at 30, we do it at 45, and we never stop until that invoice actually gets paid. And this process is 100% automated. And as a result, your clients, you don't have to sit around thinking, okay, well, who do I need to send a reminder to? And did I remember to do that? And did they respond? This all gets done for you. And the great thing is not only do they get the notice of the fact that they're past due, but they also get a really easy way to click and pay that invoice. And when they click the Pay Now link, what they're going to see is they're going to see this page right here. So they come in, they can see the invoice number, the amount that's due. They can choose to pay via credit card or e-check. If you have credit card surcharges and you want to pass those along to your customers, you can do so. And then once the customer actually posts or runs the payment, we actually post the payment back into QuickBooks and close out the invoice. So then you don't have to do all the entry work. So again, we're automating that entire cycle. We even send out this really nice looking paid thank you email, which everybody loves to get because not only does it serve as a payment receipt to say, hey, thank you so much for paying your invoice, but it also serves to let them know that they have a receipt of payment so that they can go ahead and just say, all right, great, you've got my payment. So hopefully that makes sense. Basically, this is the core of the automation of the system.
And Sean?
Yes.
Can you hold on 1 second?
Absolutely.
I'm going to launch a poll question for everybody. But while they're doing that, I wanted to point out something. When you were going through that, if you were showing the credit card payment,
yes.
I see that little 2% on there. You have the ability to, like, if somebody's paying by credit card, to charge them and have it bump up the invoice by 2 or 3%.
Exactly. So yeah, you're correct. So we do the accounting right. So we will collect the additional for the surcharge. We will add the surcharge into the invoice in QuickBooks. So that way, when the total amount that's being collected, which is now higher than the original invoice amount, is posted, then the invoice will match and close out.
And I love that because I see so many people who say, you know, if somebody's paying by credit card, I want to charge that additional fee to them to cover the credit card fees. And currently, like in QuickBooks, you would have to go back in and change that invoice and resend it if you wanted to add the credit card fees on there so that the customer or the client is paying that fee. But I love how that will automatically do that for you. I think that's a big, big time savings, and it'll save money.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also offer the e-check, and it's great about offering sort of both of those options is, you can push your customers towards e-check, which there's no surcharge. It's lower cost to you, it's lower cost to them. But if they really absolutely want to pay with credit card, they can still do that, but then you don't have to take the hit on the fees, which, as we all know, are very expensive.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Okay, everybody, you got about 3 seconds left on this poll. If you need CPE, please answer it. I'm going to close it in 3, 2, 1, done. Okay, so 42% of you want to grow your practice somewhat, 40% said a lot, and then 6% are so busy they don't want more work. And I'll tell you one thing though, you always have to be marketing. Even if you're pretty busy right now, you always need to be marketing and looking at new things, because if you're not growing, you're dying. So anyway, all right, go ahead, Sean. Sorry.
Sure, I know, absolutely. So when we first got started, what I just showed you was really all we had. But what we realized over time, and we see this actually a lot with bookkeepers, but everybody is trying to move into more of a recurring business of some sort or another. It could be, it could even be people who are doing things that vary quite a bit. So for example, maybe you're a marketer and you're doing marketing consulting for a company and you're hourly. But the reality is you still would like to collect those funds automatically if at all possible. So what we did is we created what's called a recurring or automatic payment system. And what this simply is when you issue an invoice in QuickBooks for whatever amount for a particular client, when that invoice comes due, we have the payment method of those clients stored in our system. And what we can do is we can automatically schedule and take that payment on the due date of the invoice. And so what's great about that is it doesn't matter whether the invoice amount is $62 this month and $150 next month. All of that is irrelevant. When the amounts change, we automatically adjust on our side, and come the due date of that invoice, we automatically run that payment on that invoice, and again, posting it back to QuickBooks, and so then you're getting paid. And while it's a really simple idea, it's really revolutionized a lot of small businesses, because if you think about it, they are in a scenario where they don't have time to be running around collecting from every client, but they need to be collecting from every client. But it's always this push and pull of all of the time spent collecting is time they're not spending working in the particular thing that they do. And so it causes a lot of either lost revenue on one side or another. And so this really changes the game, because now they can just go out, power through what they do best, And when it comes time to actually collect funds, we automatically collect those funds for them. And of course, sometimes, sometimes the funds bounce for one reason or another. For example, let's say a credit card has been declined, or perhaps maybe a credit card has expired. What we'll do is we'll also automatically send out, if we try to run one of these charges, an email saying, hey, we tried to run this charge, it didn't work. Please click here to update your credit card on file. So they can click there, update the card on file, we'll rerun the transaction. We're doing all that dunning for them automatically end to end without them ever having to lift a finger. So it's a really great way to literally completely automate cash flow collection.
And Sean, that's where, again, as us as accounting professionals, we're telling the clients we're taking care of all this for them, and it's providing a lot of service, but yet it's all automated.
That's the idea. That's the idea. We're not doing anything that can't be done manually, but it's sure nice when you don't have to take the time to do it.
Exactly. I mean, that's just huge, because again, that's where we're providing the value of the service without the time required. So I just love it.
That's great. Another feature that we have is the customer portal. So a customer portal, if you ever have clients who either need a lot of copies of invoices, need to pay a lot of invoices, need to update information, maybe that's currently in QuickBooks. If you're doing a lot of this work, or your clients are doing a lot of this work, we have a solution for you, and we call it the client portal. Basically, it allows you to have a branded portal that your clients can use to have their customers log in, see all of their invoices, pay their invoices, get copies of their invoices, all in one spot. They can get old invoices that have already been paid. They can update their information that they've got in QuickBooks, so that way that all gets pushed through. And then so if they're spending a lot of time giving out copies of invoices or updating information, it's a really great tool to actually give out to the customer. So we found this to be a very useful time saver as well.
So, Sean, just real quickly, we had a couple of people talking about adding that additional fee, charging the customers the credit card fee, and they're saying that's illegal. But that law changed. How many years ago was it?
Well,
like 5 years ago?
Well, actually, that's not. They are correct. So we will. That doesn't actually happen. So that's not allowed in the states that that's not allowed in. That feature doesn't work. But okay. The good news is that actually just got brought up in the Supreme Court, and it went the way of the merchant. So I think while this is definitely an issue in the moment in about 10 states, I think in reality we'll find in about a year from now that this will no longer actually be legal at a federal level, and so it'll go away. But in the meantime, we do comply with those laws, and in those 10 states, we don't offer that feature.
All right, thank you.
So don't worry, we won't let you commit a crime. We promise.
Keep us out of trouble.
Exactly. So moving on from the customer portal, we have late fee automation as well. Pretty simple concept. So you can come in and you can say, listen, on the seventh day past due, I want to assess a late fee. We offer. You can do percentages, you can do amounts, you can do both, you can do the higher of the two. So lots of options there. And then you can say, listen, I want to then recur this fee every X number of days. We'll automatically calculate the late fee, and we can do one of two things. We can either add it to the existing invoice, which I think is always a little cleaner, or if you're dealing with revenue recognition issues, we can obviously create an actual late fee invoice that's sort of unique and on its own, so that way it falls in the correct period. So we sort of give you all the options there for doing late fees. Moving on to payment plans. So this is a fun feature. So a lot of people run into scenarios where they've sent an invoice to a customer, they've done the work, they've delivered the product, but wouldn't you know, the customer says, listen, I can't pay you now. And so what we need to do then is we need to say, okay, well, what can you do? And they say, well, we can obviously, we can pay you some amount of money today. Maybe it's, maybe on this invoice, it's $100. So we'll take a down payment right now. And, maybe we can pay you a couple of months from now, maybe, the end of November. And, we can give you weekly payments. So the system will actually go in and let you create a payment plan where it'll actually either allow you to manually collect funds or automatically collect funds on all of the individual payments. So you can come in here, you can take an invoice, split it up, create the payments, and boom, the system just takes over from there and starts to walk that payment plan down for you automatically, so you don't miss out on collecting this revenue, and you don't have to remember that, hey, they're on a payment plan, and to follow up manually. So it saves a lot of time when you get into a payment plan scenario.
And that's something I think is just awesome, because again, that's something we can't do in QuickBooks. But a lot of times, you know, if the customer can't make the payment, if they can't pay, setting up that payment plan allows you to get paid and to collect it rather than just sitting it out there and growing stale and stuff. So I love that feature, and I think that's really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, really, this idea grew out of the fact that my wife is actually a CPA, and she and a couple of friends were saying, you know, hey, we have a lot of clients who have a hard time getting paid, and you know, we've just really been on a mission to try to find a way to change and fix that scenario. And you know, there's a lot of other solutions out there. You know, you have a lot of people doing short-term borrowing through, you know, online invoice factoring and things like that. And in some businesses, that's probably really acceptable just in the nature of the business. But we really think that the vast majority of people, they're running into collections issues because they're just not able to follow up appropriately and stay on top of their clients. And we hope that, you know, instead of having to pay somebody interest on what is in effect a loan on an invoice, we'd much rather see if we can't automate that whole process end to end and just shorten out down the DSOs. And we've been doing this now for over 3 years, and we're going into our 4th year, and it's been phenomenal. Most companies are seeing a 30-day decrease in their DSOs in a 6-month period. And if you think about what that really means for a small business or even a large business, that's 30 days of extra cash. That's like saying, hey, would you like an extra month's worth of revenue this year to just do whatever you're going to do with it? And for most people, that's a huge win and allows them to grow their business in some pretty phenomenal ways.
Right. And so, Sean, I'm going to go ahead and launch one more poll question. And I actually wanted to say something real quick. So you were saying DSOs, and that's days sales outstanding. For those of you that don't know that, and like Sean said, the more days outstanding you have, that means that's cash that you've already spent. So the small business has already paid for, you know, either the product, if it's something dealing with retail, or they paid for the services, they paid the employees, they paid all these costs and expenses to make that sale. That money's already gone out the door. So if you can decrease the DSO, as he said, the number of days sales outstanding, that's improving your cash flow. And, you know, you also mentioned how a lot of these small businesses, they're just out there busy making the sales or doing the work, and they don't sometimes even have time for invoicing. And I know it's a multi-million-dollar company now, but Danny O'Neill started the Roastery here in Kansas City, Missouri, and he was making all kinds of sales, but yet he almost went out of business when he was in the startup phase because he wasn't invoicing. So he was doing all of this work, making all these sales, buying the coffee beans, packaging them, doing all this, making lots of sales, but he wasn't collecting. So, I mean, a lot of small businesses, like you said, they just don't have the time for that because they're so focused on making sales or providing the service or whatever. So
Did you know that of businesses that are making sales, the number one reason they go bankrupt is cash flow?
Exactly, yeah. And that's where, you know, they talk about a business can grow themselves out of business. Because
Right.
they're making lots of sales, but if you're not collecting it, like you said, you can go bankrupt or fail. So I think this is just vitally important for a lot of small businesses. So, all right, I'm going to give you about 3 more seconds on this poll question. So if you need CPE, please answer it. 3, 2, 1, and done. So 44% of you said some of your clients could benefit from better cash flow. 35% yes, a lot of them. And 13% said no, not really. Okay, Sean, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, yeah. So, I mean, at a high level, I mean, there's lots of other little things. Like, for example, we do real-time activity monitoring. So you can see how effective we're being. So, like, are these emails getting to the clients? Are they opening them? Are they paying from them? All of those things. You know, there's lots of manual things you can do. You can keep lots of notes in the system. A lot of people run into scenarios where they'll say, well, you know, I've got a bunch of little clients who I'm happy to really full force automation, but I've got some big customers I'd really like to leave alone. So you can tell the system, don't email these people and don't remind these people. You can create groups of customers and say, send these types of reminders or these types of actions to these customers, but not to these other customers. So it's very, very customizable from where that stands. Obviously, everything's automated, including the information coming from QuickBooks. So let's say a payment comes in via check or something, and you post it into QuickBooks. we'll automatically get notified of that, so you don't actually have to sit here and click any buttons or post any information. So there's a lot of little sort of nook and cranny features that hopefully the goal here is just to come together, run in the background, something you don't really have to, you sort of set and forget. And really the benefit is you're just seeing your days sales outstanding decreasing, you're seeing your cash flow coming in. We'll send you a nice weekly report that shows you everything we're doing for you, what your DSOs were, where your DSOs are heading. Those reports are a great way to go to your client also and say, hey, look at how here in our practice, we're benefiting you, and look how your money being spent towards, AR management is really being put to good use. Because for the, let's say $100 more a month you're paying us for this, we just delivered $10,000 extra dollars you wouldn't have gotten otherwise. So there's some really good, huge ways to show payoff.
Very nice. And can you answer a couple of questions that I saw in the window there?
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to answer questions.
Can you handle more than one AR account? A lot of times nonprofit organizations might have multiple AR accounts. Can you handle more? Because I know, like in QuickBooks Online, you cannot have more than one AR account, but in QuickBooks Desktop, you can. So with Invoice Sherpa, I'm assuming it's all just one AR account. But what about, you said
we pull the invoice, we pull at the invoice level, and when you say handle more than one AR account, I don't know why we wouldn't be able to do that, because we're sort of just looking on an invoice by invoice or customer by customer basis. So if by handle you mean like, well, we don't want to bother these people on this AR account versus that AR account, well, we can absolutely do that. So I'm pretty confident that the answer to that is yes.
Well,
okay, yeah.
Let me chime in for a second from a technical level. If Invoice Sherpa is pulling all the invoices from QuickBooks Online, and QuickBooks Online does not have the capacity to do multiple AR accounts, by definition, Invoice Sherpa cannot pull from different AR accounts. Now, what Sean is saying about being able to pick and choose what groups of customers get notifications and that sort of thing, you can do that maybe with classes or locations or something like that. But I think multiple AR accounts, until Intuit opens that option up, it may not be available.
Oh, I think you're absolutely right. I was thinking maybe desktop.
It is, yes, it is available with QuickBooks Desktop. And one more clarification is, I have people who say, but Michelle, I went into QuickBooks Online and I set up another AR account, so you're wrong. Well, the thing is, you can set up multiple AR accounts in the chart of accounts, but when you go to create an invoice, you cannot select a different AR account. So with QuickBooks Online, like Hector just said, until Intuit changes something, you can only set up and use one AR account. But with QuickBooks Desktop, you'd be able to do the multiples. So that's some great clarification on some of that. And then also, when you set up the payment plan, so somebody's asking about when you set up a payment plan on somebody, the nasty gram stop. In other words, once you set up a payment plan, if you've got those additional email reminders to go out, after X number of days past due and all that, those would not go out once you've got them on a payment plan.
So see how this one has actually turned yellow? That actually indicates to you that the reminders have actually been paused, and that's exactly what happens. As soon as you set up a payment plan, it automatically pauses. Because if we think about it from an accounting level perspective, what you really have done is you said, listen, this one big invoice for this amount that was due on this date, it's actually gone now. I mean, we keep it around for reference, but in reality, it's now transformed itself into these 10 invoices, which are now due for smaller amounts at different due dates. And now you're not technically behind anymore because we basically made a new arrangement.
Very good. Okay, so some people are asking about the auto posting to QuickBooks and things like that. So you might just want to clarify, everything is going to be posted back to QuickBooks. Like if you have that additional charge for the credit card fees, if you have fees for late fees, or any of the things that you've got here in Invoice Sherpa, it is posting back into QuickBooks. Yeah,
you betcha. In fact, so what you do is you come in, and in the accounting integration section, there's all these wonderful drop downs here that allow you to choose exactly where you want to post stuff. So you tell us, listen, if I have a late fee, I want it to be like this as far as a line item goes. If I have a credit card surcharge, this is the line item I want it to go into. If I have an invoice payment, this is the account I want it to go into. And so that's the goal. The goal for us is to push all this information back into QuickBooks. So in essence, if you don't want to come in here, you don't have to come in here. And so as a result, you'll just pull up that invoice and you'll see, oh, look, we just got a payment. Oh, look, that invoice has been marked as paid. That person's got a paid thank you email. And that all happens without you touching anything.
That is awesome. And so now, can you explain too, because you've got the payment aspect on the payments, but this is not QuickBooks Payments. Can you kind of elaborate on how the payments was working and things like that?
Well, actually,
and somebody had asked, can you use another payment solution?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we actually do integrate with QuickBooks Payments. So we integrate with all kinds of different providers, but we also have our own merchant services that we offer. A lot of the people who come to us, merchant services these days is kind of like sort of like a vanilla product, right? Everybody kind of sort of sells the same stuff. And so we just we have a one that if you don't have a provider or you don't care, we just automatically have it as part of that. But if you say, no, I have QuickBooks Payments and I've cut some special deal or I have some special arrangement, we're totally compatible with QuickBooks Payments, and we'll run everything through QuickBooks Payments just like you do now.
Okay, so then one of the limitations with QuickBooks Payments is that you can't accept international payments. So that's still the case, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, every payment provider is its own thing, and that's that's why we have our own, because we can accept international payments, via credit card certainly. We like the idea of adding ACH. QuickBooks obviously has that as well, but some of the other providers either don't or they do it in sort of a clunky way. So we like to provide all the options if possible.
Okay, and then there's another question. Can they pay with more than one source? In other words, let's say your customer wants to pay part with a bank account and part with a credit card, or part with two different credit cards. Can they pay with multiple payment methods?
No, not today. And to be honest, I mean, I would say I've probably gotten that request about 3 times ever, and maybe we would have it more if we offered the option. I guess it's technically possible in the sense that you could pay you can do partial payments on the invoices. So technically, I guess you could say, all right, well, pull up the payment link and pay $100 with this credit card, and then close the page, come back. I mean, you could certainly make that happen, but there's no inherent ability in the interface to say pay this portion with this and that portion with that. It's kind of a clunky workaround.
Okay. And so now let's talk about specifically for us as accounting professionals and pro advisors and stuff. I saw somebody that said they went and signed up and it gave them the 30-day free trial. They were asking about how they
super simple. Let me show you. Okay, so you go into plans and billing, and you go over here and you hit accounting edition like this, and then you put in your credit card information. And here's why we do that. If you choose to add your clients and you choose to have us bill you for those clients, we need a way to do that. So that's why you put your credit card information in here. If you add your clients but then never turn on billing for your clients and have them do the billing on their side, we never charge your card. So, but at this point, that's all you have to do, and your account's free for life.
Okay, so under the plans and the billing, they go ahead and select it, put that information in there, and they can do that. That's awesome. Now, what about other support that you offer for pro advisors as far as customer support? Is it online chat? Is it phone support?
No, we have chat, we've got email, and we've got, more importantly, I think we've got the phone channel. When you're trying to get your client set up, we get lots of situations where pro advisors will say, okay, I'm in my client's office right now. You need to make me look good here. We're happy to jump on the phone, happy to walk you through how it works, happy to help you get your client set up end to end. Our goal is simple. Let's make you look like a hero, and everybody's going to be happy.
Very good. And now somebody else is asking, upon the initial setup, will the existing invoices get pulled into Invoice Sherpa and migrated into that workflow, or are the older invoices left out on an island?
Well, the good news is no, they all come in. So the goal here is to get our arms around all of the AR. And in fact, so here's what we often find. So the classic scenario is you come in and it looks just like this. You got a bunch of stuff that's plus 90 days. That's why you're here. You're here because your AR is not working for you. And so what we'll do is we'll have people come in they'll create a specific sort of kickoff or plus 90-day reminder. And there's a really easy way to come in and actually send out a bulk load of reminders. So you can literally come in and check this box next to all your customers, or you can just check them all using this one at the top. And you can literally say, listen, I want to send everybody who's plus 90 days the following reminder. And it's amazing because what will happen is people who have long since given up on collecting any of this money from people, just purely based on the fact that they send these emails out with the easy, convenient payment link, we collect a tremendous amount of money that people just never expected to ever see. And it's like a miracle for them. And it's so exciting to watch because it really helps those small businesses sort of decimate that big, nasty red bar at the plus 90-day mark.
Okay, let me ask you a question, if you don't mind. There's some questions about collections. So for the clients that haven't paid you, does this integrate with any collection system or any collections company that can do collections for you?
So what we do there currently is we work with whatever collections agency that you use to get them in here and have them actually operate on your account as a user, and that tends to be the best way for them to kind of keep pace with you. There's not really if you've ever looked at the collections world, they're a pretty clunky old school world in general, so that there's not a lot of really slick new collection software to integrate with, to be honest. On top of it, what we find is a lot of people who come to us have collections agencies. And why do they have collections agencies? It's because they've gotten to this point where their AR is not working for them. But most of the time, by the time you get to the point where you're sending stuff to a collections agency, first of all, collections agencies are pennies on the dollar. They're not very successful by and large, because if you let money get this old, you're most likely never going to see it again. There's some really good studies that say, look, if you get past 60 or 90 days past due, the likelihood that you're ever going to collect goes down measurably. What we find is if you put us in place, you just stop getting to the collections agency because you collect 90% or 99% of what it is that you were otherwise letting go or sending to a collections agency, basically never to be seen again. So while we certainly work with collections agencies, in reality, our goal is to sort of keep you from having to use them.
And Sean, can you go back to where you were setting up what emails you wanted to be sent out and the reminders and all that?
Yeah,
because I think that's key, because, well, like you're saying, you don't want it to even get to 90 days. And I think this is key right here, where you're setting up all these emails to automatically go out. And I love how easy this is to just drag and drop these things. So can you kind of talk about this again?
Absolutely. So yeah, if you want to add something, it's simple. You just grab it, you drag it down here, you let it go, and then it's going to ask you, okay, well, all right, when are we sending this out? And then you're going to go in here and you're going to say, oh yeah, I want to send another reminder at 150 days or whatever it is. Of course, you don't ever want to get that far out, but if you do, you do, great. And then you say, okay, well, I want to make it look different. Fantastic. Let's go into the editor here, and let's go ahead and over on the left-hand side, you can change all kinds of stuff. You can change the from address, the subject line, the header text, the text color, the background color. You can even, we even are compatible with, if you've got clients that are design agencies and can do HTML, we can do 100% custom designs. We've seen some really crazy, unique, interesting stuff. You can edit all the body text. You can drag and drop script variables. You can get dynamic information in there. On and on and on it goes as far as customization goes. And then we can even do things like we can automate invoice statements. So let's say at the first and the last day of every month, you want to send out a statement. We can automatically send out statements as well. So a lot of people are doing this manually right now. We send out this nice statement template. You can see all of the invoices that are open or past due. It does a nice total up here as well, so you can break that out. And again, you can specify, what day of the month you want that sent out to. And it's a really convenient way to give all the invoices that are open to a client in one nice email with both the view and the pay options all baked in there.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. So now we just had, and that's what I just love. Like I mentioned, with QuickBooks Online or with QuickBooks Desktop, it's even easier though with online. In online, you can go through and select, here's all my overdue invoices, I want to send them an email. But you have to do that manually, and you have one template for an overdue invoice. You don't have multiple templates. You don't have an email that'll go out that says thank you for your payment. You don't have all of this stuff that I think this is so valuable. And that's where, again, we can provide a very valuable service for our clients. But like Sean was showing us, we go through and we set this up So you spend a little bit of time on the setup process, and then it's just automated. All these emails and these reminders and these thank yous, everything is going out. Your credit card's expiring, please update it. All of this stuff is going out automatically. And again, we're providing a lot of value to our clients without a lot of time. That's where that value pricing is going to come in and be key.
One last trick, you know, right now when you create a new invoice in QuickBooks, at least the last time I checked, is you have to save and send, right? Well, what we'll do is we'll actually take over the the new invoice email, if you will. We call it a ready email, and all you have to do then in QuickBooks is actually just hit save on the invoice. And you think, oh, well, that's not a big, you know, save and send, that's not a big deal. But if you're doing a lot of invoices, it takes up time. So instead, if you just have to hit save on it, you save a ton of time. Or we have clients who, they have a third-party system that's actually generating all their invoices. Well, what we do is when they drop in, we'll automatically send out those new ready invoice emails and save them a ton of time so they don't have to go in and bulk send them out later on.
Wonderful. So we had a couple of other questions here. What is the average onboarding time to set up clients with all the email reports, statements, etc.?
Well, we pre-can the system out of the gate with a default set of reminders so that you don't have to technically do any kind of setup, because we find that one of the biggest challenges is the onboarding process. So the whole idea is we set you up with a 7, a 14, a 30, a 60, a 90 day past due reminder. And to be honest, I think a good setup takes about 30 to maybe 45 minutes. What you're really doing is you're setting all your company settings. So, you know, you really want to have your, you know, your logo in here. You really want to make sure your company information is correct. You really want to make sure you've got payments hooked up. But if you just do those two things and then you turn on the system, and what I always say is, look, do those two things, turn the system on. It walks forward. So it's not going to send stuff out in the past. It's only going to send stuff out going forward. You're going to end up sending out a couple of reminders. You'll see what the responses are, and then you can just kind of tune and edit the system as you go and as it makes sense for your business. But to be honest, I think most people can get it up, running, and live for 90% of their clients in 30 to 45 minutes.
Wonderful. So Sean, you can stay an extra couple of minutes, is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to.
Okay, super. So I wanted to make sure that we get this up there for everybody. InvoiceSherpa.com is where you can start your free 30-day trial. And as Sean showed you, if you go under the billing information, choose the accounting plan, put your credit card in there, and that way you've got it on file if and when you pick up clients and put them on there and everything. But it will be free for you for your firm. I'm going to launch this last poll question. Those of you that need to leave, thank you very much for joining us today. Those of you that can hang around, though, we'll stay for a few more minutes because there's still a lot more questions there that we're going to try to answer for some people. And I will provide these questions to Sean's team at the Invoice Sherpa team and let them follow up with some of you that did not get your questions answered. And those of you that have been asking about desktop, that is coming in a couple of weeks, right, Sean, in September?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, if you are interested, we'd really love to know your name, or at least an email address, because we're going to have a big launch email so that everybody knows about it and that you can go and get it and all those instructions and everything else. You know, probably an easy thing to do is just email support@InvoiceSherpa.com and say, hey, I'm interested in desktop, and that's all you really need to say. And we're happy to add you to the list and make sure you get on the announcement.
Okay, very good. And this poll, too, is how interested are you in Invoice Sherpa? Very interested, somewhat, not at this time, or NA, I don't have my own practice or clients. We do have some students and people in industry who join us for this as well. So go ahead and answer that last poll question. I'm going to give you about 5 more seconds. If you need CPE, please answer that. 4, 3, 2, 1, and done. So thank you. A lot of interest there, Sean. We had a lot of people who were interested. So that's great. And we'll have some of them follow up.
I love to hear that.
Yes, there you go. So just one more reminder, those of you that got to jump off, thank you to our platinum sponsors, T-Sheets and Arrow Workflow, and also thank you to our silver sponsor, HubDoc. We really appreciate our sponsors. It allows us to provide this free. So make sure you check them out and tell them that you heard about them on HubDoc. And then there's the little thank you slide. But we're going to go ahead and have Sean answer a couple of other questions if that's okay. So somebody is saying here, we can use Invoice Sherpa to send the sales invoice to the customer initially and charge them a credit card fee. So can you kind of go over how that credit card fee works? Like if I send you an invoice for $1,000 and explain how that credit card fee works.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically it's just, let's say you say, well, I want to charge 2%, right? So we just do the simple math and take the $1,000, right, and add the 2%. So at the end of the day, we're going to end up charging the client $1,020. So now we've got the original line item in the invoice is $1,000, and now we have a credit card surcharge that we need to add to the invoice of $20. And so you'll create an item. Generally, we recommend you create one called like credit card fees or whatever, and then we'll add another item to the invoice for $20. So now the original invoice is the new balance is $1,020. We've taken $1,020 payment on the credit card, and now we can post it, and then that'll clear the invoice. But you'll also recognize the revenue that you got from the actual credit card surcharge. And again, the payment providers all charge all kinds of crazy different schemes, whether it's just a flat percentage or a flat percentage in some money. The goal here is not to exactly match what you got charged. It's just to offset what you got charged and to just sort of recognize some revenue where you otherwise were recognizing none.
Right, and I love that. Now, another thing, Sean, some people noticed the update QuickBooks in the upper right corner where it said update QuickBooks, and they were saying, do you have to manually update? But that's not the case. You
don't. Yeah, so let's talk about that. So QuickBooks, and my hat's off to QuickBooks. I really love Intuit for this. They did this first before anybody else. They will actually push us updates with a 5-minute delay. And I asked why 5 minutes, and they explained, well, sometimes people will do something and realize, oh, wait, that's not what I meant to do. And they'll kind of try to undo it. So they wanted to give people a little bit of time. But let's just say you're sitting there staring at the screen. You've added something to QuickBooks and you're like, listen, I need this in here right now. You can hit that button and we'll go grab it right now. But in general, you'll never need to touch it. I would say about 99% of people never even click that button, but it's there just in that one little instance.
Okay, very cool. We had somebody else who said, can they use this standalone? I know you integrate not just with QuickBooks, but with other accounting programs, but could somebody use it just as standalone? I'm not sure why they would, unless maybe it's medical billing or some kind of...
Yeah, so we have that on the roadmap at a later date. It's funny how the world works. I just sort of never imagined someone would want to do that, but we've had that question a couple of times, and I think it's just the idea that there's lots of other systems out in the world that may or may not jive with maybe they're doing financial management in QuickBooks Online, but maybe they're doing, really the invoice level stuff somewhere else. And so at some point we will absolutely have some kind of import feature, probably from an Excel file or a CSV file, because most systems will handle that. But for the moment, you need to have one of those accounting systems in order to use the system.
Gotcha. Okay. And somebody else asked about, does this work, like if you're using a QuickBooks desktop in a hosted environment?
It will work with that, because really it doesn't matter to us where QuickBooks lives as far as the desktop goes, because we're going to utilize the web connector functionality from Intuit, which will work whether it's in, sitting next to you next to your desk, or whether or not it's, hosted someplace else.
Okay. And can you talk more about the pricing? We had several questions about the pricing, and also about whether we should be paying for it or we want our clients to be paying for it. Do you want to talk about that a little
absolutely. Bit? So I mean, the pricing is hopefully self-explanatory in terms of it's just the total number of new invoices you're generating in a month. So it's the idea is, and here it's funny, here's what we find. So a lot of people will come to us, maybe they're in the 101 category, or they'll be concerned that they're going to fall into that. But then what they run it for the 30-day trial, and it's amazing. Most people will drop down an entire pricing category because we're that effective in that small of a period of time. As far as how you should be billing, we highly recommend that you let us bill you and you bill your clients. And here's why. If you're just billing us as a piece of software, you're really just saying, listen, I got this discount on this cool piece of software that's really going to help your business. Here you go. But I don't think that's really recognizing the value of the accounting professional. I find that our software plus the accounting professional's expertise, that's the magic secret sauce. So you're going to your client and you're saying like, listen, I plus this cool piece of software are really that's the cake and the frosting. And so if you bring it together and you offer it as a service, you get the benefit of the additional value that you're providing to your client, and you get the software to kind of help you along with it. But it's really both. It's not one or the other.
Right. And I totally agree with that. Like, for example, first of all, if we are billing it through to the client, it just as a software, so like let's say they got the small business plan, $99 a month. If I'm invoicing the client for that, you got to be careful of the sales taxes in the various states and things like that. But really, this is our tool. Just like, construction people have power tools. They got power saws and power nail guns and all kinds of things. Those are the tools that allow them to get their work done efficiently and effectively. This is our power tool, just like tax prep software. I think we pay for it. So if I'm paying $100 a month for a particular client, but I'm providing this full AR management services, I could easily charge $500 or more per month for the value of the services that I'm providing. And with this tool, I'm setting it up and I'm automating it, and it's like taking care of itself mostly. We're spending a little bit of time on it every month, but for the most part, it's all automated. So that's where I like to bundle it in as part of your services and do the value pricing, because we're not selling Invoice Sherpa to our clients. We're selling the value of accounts receivable management.
Exactly.
And all these reminder emails, all these follow-up emails, we're helping them get their cash flow in. That's what we're selling, not the app. We're selling the service. So
exactly. It's the same answer to the question like, well, should I just, pass along the discount for QuickBooks? It's like, well, no, because that would be like saying, well, here, use this software instead of using me. The whole idea is it's both that make it all work. It's not one or the other.
Right. And somebody had another question. Can I do a bulk email announcing a change and fee for credit card use? So you can do a mass email to everybody, correct?
Yep, absolutely. We have this happen all the time.
And you can do that to all customers, whether they have a current open invoice or not, correctly?
That is correct, absolutely.
Okay. Somebody else again asked how to get the Pro Advisor free version. Sign up for the free trial, and then go into the plans and billing and select the accounting plan and put in your information there, and you'll get that for free. All right. Anything else, Sean, that you want to mention? I was trying to look back through these questions here. Anything else that you want to mention or just remind people?
I would encourage everybody to go sign up for the free trial. That's why it's free. There's no credit card required. If seeing your information in the software is so powerful, because I think you know all about your clients and your info, and so seeing it in person, I think, is super useful and helpful. So I would just encourage you to do it. Again, it just doesn't cost. It just costs you a couple of minutes. We're just super happy to be here. Super thankful to have had this opportunity. It's just thanks for everybody who attended, and thanks for the 320 people are still hanging around. So that's pretty awesome.
All right, and thank you, Sean. I really love Invoice Sherpa. I think it's one of the best apps that are out there for us as a tool to help our clients, and it's so valuable to help them improve that cash flow. So thank you for joining us, and we really appreciate having you. And again, if anybody's interested, you can go to InvoiceSherpa.com, or you can also email support@InvoiceSherpa.com. So thank you, everybody. Hector emailed or texted me and said he lost his power. So thank you, Hector, for being here, but I think we've lost him. Are you?
Oh, that's funny. Poor guy.
Yeah, I think we lost him. But anyway, thank you, Sean, and thank you, everybody, for joining us. Everybody have a great day.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.